This program is brought to you as a community service of BAF Insurance. The views, opinions, and advice expressed by guests on this show are those of the guests and do not reflect the views, opinions, and advice of BAF Insurance. For medical advice, please visit your medical professional.
Your health, your wealth, your health, your wealth, your health for life. Your Health, Your Wealth is brought to you by BAF Insurance. Your health, our priority.
Welcome to Your Health, Your Wealth with Desiree and Chuck on Bobo Radio. Thank you for listening. For the next hour, we will be sharing health tips. Your Health, Your Wealth airs every Wednesday from 6:30 to 7:30 a.m. right here on 89.1 FM Bobo Radio. So remember to tune in each week and tell a friend. You can also catch the shows you missed on YouTube on the Be Well, Be Healthy for Life channel. So don't forget to subscribe.
It is another beautiful, gorgeous morning right here as we wake you up with some great information and great, how can I say, to alleviate the stress that comes with day-to-day living. I mean, you know, one of the things that a lot of people have is anxiety. Anxiety of going to work, maybe even driving a car. You know, these are real fears and real problems that tend to lean towards a common type of mental illness, as we know as anxiety disorders. Now, there's a lot of people talking and living with this. In the U.S. alone, the last numbers that I took a look at was, get this, Des, 40 million adults have been affected by anxiety disorder. That's like, I want to say 40 million. That's a lot of people.
Times our population, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And they're also saying that generally stress is actually a response to an external cause. So basically what they're saying is anxiety actually originates from something internal. It's actually the person's specific reaction to stress. Mm-hmm. And it's actually typically characterized by persistent feelings of apprehension or dread. So there are going to be situations that are actually not threatening, but because of the severity of stress, the person probably thinks that it's a whole lot worse than it is. And
we become our own worst enemies.
Enemies, yes. So there's a lot of persons who actually live with what they call chronic stress. So those persons they actually benefit from having supervised care. And that care is normally given by licensed mental health professionals. Mm-hmm. So it's very important to know how to identify and to differentiate the signs of stress and anxiety, and to know what is your triggers for anxiety, and also to be able to diagnose these symptoms early so that it doesn't develop and snowball into some other kind of an anxiety disorder. And
what I just want to interject.
Go ahead, babe.
This is, people are living with this, folks. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people have not been diagnosed with it. Now, once again, diagnosis leads to receiving treatment. So people are just, I'm nervous about this. I'm scared about this. But that is a daily occurrence. Imagine you are afraid to leave your house. And you have to leave your house because you are working, and every day it is a mental stress for you to leave your house to go to this job because you have to drive in a car, and maybe you've had a car accident. And so all of these stuff keep compounding.
Or you don't like roundabouts.
Yes.
Or you don't like multiple lanes.
Wow.
Because that is a true thing especially in our community, where the roads keep getting upgraded and the layouts keep changing. And that can get quite difficult for persons as they age.
Yeah.
Because they're used to driving to work in a specific way. They're used to this being a stop sign, or this being a give way. And all of a sudden, where the give way is now a stop sign. Right. And they're apprehensive about not being able to see properly. Because, some persons have not. That's another thing that people have to actually, I mean, that's another subject, but having your eyes checked or whatever, because some people feel like they can just get by with whatever they can see. And sometimes when you actually go from not wearing glasses to wearing glasses, you realize that your sense of like distance, judging distance, is seriously aired when you're not actually wearing glasses, or it differs if it's light or dark, morning or evening kind of thing as well, you know?
Exactly.
So I guess it's really important too for persons to know what kind of things they can have that they can use towards getting better, like what kind of strategies they can use. And
I think the first thing that you have to really take a look at is calming yourself. This is because anxiety gets worse when you get more excited, like, oh my gosh, I can't breathe. Then you can't breathe. Then you have this issue. You kind of compound it. So first thing is kind of learning how to relax yourself, finding your center, getting your muscle to calm down, even though your anxiety is high. It can start from your toes and work your way up by just being understandable of doing relaxation trainings. There's a tons of breathing exercises to help you slow down your breathing, because the first thing happens is you start hyperventilating, and then you're getting less oxygen. Then
you start feeling lightheaded.
Then your muscles start cramping because you're so tense that you can't move. And then imagine if you tense and you get a cramp and you hold the wheel or something like that. So
and you're not breathing properly.
Breathing properly. So you need to be aware of these techniques to help you relax yourself.
They also suggest exercising, like moving around for half hour a day. But realistically, when you're in certain places mentally or emotionally, it's kind of hard to get up and go, because lately the intricacies of life, they've become so overwhelming. And on a good day, even with considerable clear thinking, I think we can still end up with very discombobulated thoughts, because none of our days are predictable. I mean, you wake up this morning and the day is going good, and then you receive some kind of bad news. How do you handle that? Right. So I mean, can you just get yourself into some relaxation mood? Can you just go off somewhere and meditate? Probably not so. So sometimes it may be good to also maybe get a buddy, somebody that you can talk to, someone who understands you, someone who understands why you don't feel like getting up or why you don't feel like coming out of the house on the weekend. Right. Those things are very important as well, But we also want to tell you that this show is just information that we get from doing our own personal research and whatnot. It's only for informational purposes. Right. No material is intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice. We're not medical professionals, right?
Exactly.
So
very, very true.
Yeah.
But in saying that, movement stimulates growth. In other words, when you start to move, your mind removes from that situation and endorphins kicking in, and you can focus a little bit more on the movement. Hey, I'm going for, a lot of people say, I'm stressed. I'm just going to go for a walk. I'm going to walk outside of my building, or if you're like walk to the gas station, or you walk to some other part of your office, get a glass of water. Those types of things, that movement helps break up the monotonous thought that you're having of that anxiety, because you kind of get fixated with that one thought. Oh, I got to do this. It's a job that I need to do, but I hate having this conversation with this employee or employer or this client. And that anxiety builds up and you keep procrastinating doing it. So that in itself lends you to have this anxiety build up.
Do you know that there's actually a thing called mental health first aid, and there's actually courses that are offered? So if anybody's interested in that, they might want to take a look online for that, the mental health first aid courses. I didn't actually realize that was a thing until I started doing research for this topic for this week, So in case you're just joining us, you're here with Desiree and Chuck on Your Health, Your Wealth. It's brought to you weekly by BAF Insurance. And it is aired from 6:30 to 7:30 a.m. on Wednesday mornings. And we're so glad to have you here with us. And we're hoping that you're not yet in any kind of traffic. The traffic probably won't start back good and proper until next week, let's hope. But you may be experiencing a little bit of traffic this morning. But if you are, just enjoy the show. Stay with us. We have a lot more coming up.
Exactly. We're going to take a quick break and come right back, and we'll talk about anxiety of going back to school, because trust me, I'm like, oh man.
You're in that queue?
Yes, I am in that queue. So we'll talk about that when we come back. You're listening to Your Health, Your Wealth right here, brought to you by BAF Insurance on Bobo 89.1 FM.
Your health, your wealth, your health, your wealth, your health for life. Your Health, Your Wealth is brought to you by BAF Insurance. Your health or priority.
Saturday, November the 11th, on the public beach, 7 Mile Beach, there's going to be something called Dance for Diabetes. BAF is putting that on.
Okay.
It's going to be from 6:30 in the morning until 8:30 in the morning. You can go on the bafkman.com website and register there. So it's going to start at 6:30. I'm sure it's going to be a whole lot of fun, because whatever BAF puts on, it's always a whole lot of fun.
Yeah.
And they're going to have like a warm up with FN Sports. They're going to have Zumba with the School of Fitness. They're going to have health checks by Total Health Limited. And they're also going to have body scans that are available from Essential Living. So the main sponsor is BAF, but it's also Total Health, School of Fitness, FN Sports, and Essential Living. And that is going to be like a whole lot of fun. It gives you something to do between 6:30 and 8:30 in the morning. I mean, I'll keep you up to date if there's going to be any breakfast afterwards. You know, I'm into the food thingy. So.
Your health, your wealth, your health, your wealth, your health for life. Your Health, Your Wealth is brought to you by BAF Insurance. Your health or priority.
And we are back, folks. Your Health, Your Wealth, brought to you by BAF Insurance. This is a community effort to basically bring you centered with yourself, get you back.
Build awareness, get you focused, get you back to feeling healthy and enjoying life the way it should be enjoyed.
Exactly. So I was telling you about the difference between stress and anxiety. I'm stressed out trying to get the kids back to school. So here's it. This is coming from the American Psychological Association. There is a fine line between stress and anxiety. Now, both are emotional responses, but stress is typically caused by an external trigger. And that trigger can be short-term, such as a work deadline.
Back to school. You know, you're having a disagreement, a fight with a loved one, or you've lost your job.
Right, something of that way. Where you're unable to work, you have some chronic illness, something of that. Now, people under stress experience mental and physical symptoms, such as they may be irritable, they may be angry, they may be fatigued, you're having your back, your muscle pain. You can even have digestive trouble and difficulty sleeping. Now, anxiety, on the other hand, is defined by a persistent, excessive worries that don't go away even when the absence of the stressor is there. In other words, so even though I'm not being bothered by going back to school, I'm still bothered.
Anxious.
Yeah, still anxious about that. So anxiety leads to nearly identical set of symptoms like stress, insomnia, difficulty concentrating, fatigue, muscle tension, and
irritability.
You know, and both mild stress and mild anxiety are, very similar.
They're basically treated the same way.
Right.
Yeah.
The coping mechanisms are very similar. Physical activity and nutrition and diets vary, and definitely good sleeping habits. That's kind of the starting point for the coping mechanisms. And when I say good sleeping, getting adequate sleep. Not sleep that you're tossing and turning and you're getting up at 3 or 4 times, because that leads to other problems. And that is and that can be lead to sleep apnea. That can lead to you can have some urinary problems due to this because you're in frequency. And
that can actually also affect your blood pressure.
Mm-hmm.
Not being able to sleep properly. Some persons have the tendency to have high blood pressure, but it can also affect persons who suffer with low blood pressure. And also lack of sleep can also affect like the levels of insulin in your body or cortisol in your body, which those are hormones that are produced when you're stressed or not stressed, or,
Exactly. And as I said earlier, anxiety disorders different from short-term feelings of anxiety in their severity and how long they are. Sometimes, just imagine this, and you may say, really, is this so? Imagine having an anxiety persisting for months, literally months, that negative mood, that function. There is a specific anxiety disorder, and I'm going to try to pronounce this name, agoraphobia. And you'll be like, what's that? That is a fear of public and open spaces, and this causes people to avoid enjoyable activities, or maybe even stop them from keeping a job because you have a fear of being in a public place. I growing up, and traveling a lot, I was in certain cities when things happen, and I know people who literally fear New York City because of I'm afraid
certain
of going
things
into,
that have going into Manhattan.
Going into Manhattan, the World Trade Center. They fear being in buildings that the first thing they say is, how do I get out? And I'm like, what do you mean, how do you get out? How do I get out of this space? I'm on the 30th floor. We're going to look at New York City from the Eiffel Tower. And they're like, I can't do it because they have a fear of being in that. First, it's a fear of confined space because now I'm in an elevator and I got to go up. And then it's like, oh my gosh, I'm afraid of heights. All of these things, but the fear is the public space
that they're in.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, and also that one of the most common anxiety disorders is what they call generalized anxiety disorder. Most of the time, people visit clinicians to actually get some help from it,
Right.
So,
and this is basically taking a look at being in a panic. You're
but not just panicking for one thing. It's like you can't even identify what you're panicking for. So you may be scared to drive in traffic, or you may be scared to go down steps, or but it's just everything's bothering you.
It's jumping from one situation to another situation, and they're all generalized. There's nothing specific about it. It's not like I'm afraid of blue. I'm just using this as an example. I'm afraid of the color blue. No, I'm afraid of all colors. Everything is a problem to me. So because of that, I don't want to even look out.
Right.
Because of that. I mean, and these are things that people have to live with each and every day. Imagine having an anxiety disorder that,
like a panic disorder.
Yeah, exactly. People, you say, oh, I have a panic attack.
Yeah.
And imagine
where they're scared to fly.
Right. they hear the doors closing. One of the things is there are triggers that happen along the way. Like back in the day, cars backfired, and people were afraid to hear that because they thought it was
a gun going off. Right.
I mean, we live in Cayman, so we normally haven't heard very many guns firing.
Right.
But in major cities, any loud noise, people automatically duck down. Like, oh my gosh, what was that? And you kind of, you chuckle and you laugh about it. But in some places growing up in the 90s and early 2000, it was a war zone. That was an everyday occurrence, hearing gunshots. And in other countries, people have heard those numerous times. So they automatically have that panic attack, and they're worried about that.
If there's anybody that's listening to us this morning and they think that they're suffering from an anxiety disorder or having panic attack, it doesn't feel normal. It feels as if, you're trying to stay away from people and you're no longer socially involved in what you were involved in. It's best that you actually sit down and discuss it with a medical professional so that they can tell you exactly what is there for you, because there's actually help. Normally they'll use psychotherapy or they will use medication or a combination of both to try to treat the way that you feel so that it can get you back to normal. But this morning we have a bit from Lady K. She's going to be telling us how to find work-life balance.
Exactly. And just a reminder, you're listening to Your Health, Your Wealth each and every Wednesday morning, kicking off at 6:30 a.m. until 7:30 a.m. We talk about all things related to your health.
Brought to you by BAF Insurance.
That's right. Here's Lady K.
Your health, your wealth, your health, your wealth, your health for life. Your Health, Your Wealth is brought to you by BAF Insurance. Your health, our priority.
Today on Be Well, Be Healthy for Life, Lady K, your wellness coach, talks about finding work-life balance.
Health is more than a series of illnesses and cures. And that's why today we'll talk about the importance of finding balance and how living a balanced life can make for a healthier you. Most of us live and work in a fast-paced world. Whether working on social media, checking emails, chatting with friends, or watching something funny, we're most often attached to our devices. Thanks to technology, our work days have been extended from 8 hours to almost any time our phone beeps, with many employers expecting answers to emails even on Sundays. With little time for ourselves, our families, rest and recreation, and with more people working from home since the pandemic, too many of us are suffering from work-life imbalance without even being conscious of it. If you're answering work emails at 4 a.m. when you should be asleep, or doing your child's football game, then you probably need to find some balance. How do we find balance? How do we extricate ourselves from the rat race and technology overload without losing our jobs and our minds? Finding balance is better for your physical, mental, and spiritual health. Start by making a list of things you would like to find time for in your life. Here's a common one: eating dinner with your family, uninterrupted. Next, make a list of the habits you have developed that disrupt these activities, such as answering messages while at the dinner table. The ever-present mobile device is the most common issue that affects work-life balance. However, there is a fairly simple fix. Make a conscious effort to leave your phone in another room at mealtime and have everyone participate in a similar manner by leaving their devices in another room. Meal times may be only 30 minutes, but it's a baby step towards liberating yourself from being accessible and plugged in 24/7. The more often you do it, the easier it will become. Make plans and pay for them in advance. Whether it's a quick weekend getaway or a day at the beach, make plans in advance. Don't leave it to chance. If you've already spent money on tickets, hotel rooms, or food for the beach day, you are more likely to take the time off to enjoy it. And when you do, make a conscious decision to use your mobile device for taking pictures or playing music only, not answering messages and emails. If you can't trust yourself, feel free to turn off your cell data completely for a while. No data, no social media, no emails. Resist the urge to apologize for missing a call or explaining why you were not available for calls during what should be your own personal time. Give yourself permission to be unavailable. Resist the urge to check your emails constantly and give yourself permission to work during work hours. Even if you decide to extend your work hours, set a cutoff for responses and stick to it. Get active. Engage yourself in activities or exercises that force you to put away your device, such as swimming, playing tennis, running, or gardening. In addition to the usual benefits of being fit, you will find that disconnecting this way is essential to developing and maintaining a healthy work-life balance. Make time for lunch. As simple as this sounds, many people either skip lunch altogether or eat at their desk because they're too busy to stop. If you're one of these folks, then today is the day to change that habit. People who skip lunch or eat at their desk tend to develop more digestive disorders, such as frequent heartburn, indigestion, and bloating. When you eat at your desk while working, your body diverts the blood supply needed to properly process your meals from your digestive system to your brain and your heart. A body that is relaxed when eating is less likely to stress your digestion and health. Finally, make time for friends and family and for fun. After 2 years of living in a COVID-free virtual environment, it may be easy and tempting to continue meeting this way. No matter how many friends you have on social media, nothing replaces the company of real-life people and having conversations.
Be Well, Be Healthy for Life is brought to you by BAF Global Group. Remember, always consult your doctor before starting any new health and wellness regimen. BAF Global Group offers life, health, and general insurance plus a full suite of financial solutions in the Bahamas, life insurance in the Turks and Caicos Islands, and affordable individual and group health insurance in the Cayman Islands. Visit us at mybafsolutions.com.
In case you're just joining us, you're here with Desiree and Chuck on Your Health, Your Wealth. It's brought to you by BAF Insurance every Wednesday morning, 6:30 to 7:30 a.m. This morning, we're talking about anxiety and stress, and a little bit at the end, we're going to talk about how to handle grief, because unfortunately, dealing with grief is actually a normal part of life. It's not a pleasant part of life, but it's a necessary part of life as we go on and exist. And then we have persons who leave us and transition, and it's hard. It's hard sometimes because sometimes it's expected and sometimes it's not expected. But let's go back to the anxiety. Exactly. Anxious behavior such as worry, it activates the stress response. The stress response secretes stress hormones into the bloodstream, where they travel to targeted locations to bring about specific physiological, psychological, and emotional changes that give the body an emergency boost of energy and resources to help us when we believe we could be in danger. So that's either your flight or fight mechanism, right?
Right.
The survival reaction is often referred to as the stress response. Some people actually freeze. But since these survival changes push the body beyond its balance point, stress responses stress the body. So a body that becomes stressed can exhibit symptoms of stress. So you will have anxiety symptoms like you can't think straight. You may actually even be a person who you're not even aware that you're acting anxious. I know sometimes I'll have someone say to me, why are you speaking so quickly, or why are you moving like that? Why are you moving so fast? Like, just calm down. And then when they say that, I realize, like, oh, I guess that's because I need to relax.
Yeah. So something is in my brain that I'm trying to get that and move. And we just want to just remind people, everyone worries or feel nervous from time to time. Anxiety is a normal human reaction to stressful situations. What we don't want is people with anxiety disorders who fear and worry all the time. In other words, these feelings are temporary. They do not last. They're not persistent, and they don't get worse over time.
You know what? I wanted to say something about hyperstimulation. Hyperstimulation, according to what I read, is actually when you are actually exposed to so much stress that you literally basically don't even know how to react anymore. You've been like hyperstimulated, that's kind of getting to the part where I think you would really need some kind of medical help to try to deal with that, because that actually sounds as if you may just be when you need to respond, you're basically not responding. You're just
Right.
sitting there kind of out of it. You don't know what to do.
That's one of those situations where I think we need to kind of dial it back. You have to start feeling again, because you have been desensitized to what's going on around you. That your reaction is not a typical normal reaction to what is happening in your world. Persistent loud noises, frustrating circumstances, being hot and cold, sleep deprivation, heavy cognitive role. In other words, the thought process is you're literally having migraines because you're thinking so much about this situation. And that leads all of these things comes with varying degrees of chronic pain. Those are stressors on the body that are over the limit, over the body's recognition. So your body turns off as a fact, so that it doesn't feel that anymore. You become, hyper, but you become desensitized to it. And that may lead to people not being aware of the underlying factors of that this behavior is not acceptable. This situation is not acceptable.
Or it's not normal to be going through the situation.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that's when you really need to have that 4-care kind of self-care tips, that toolbox that you can look at and say, okay, you know what, that relaxation training, that exercise,
that yoga,
that self-help book,
meditation,
because we have a lot of things available at our disposal to help us. Meditation, but if you don't think that you're in need of it, why would you use it? If I'm thinking, you know what, I'm stressed every day, this is nothing new. Well, the fact that I'm stressed every day is not normal.
Normal, right. And not only that, like, you're so stressed and you become anxious, and then you end up with like heart palpitations and chest pain, and you're lightheaded, or you feel numb and tingly, or you have weak limbs, you're having asthma attacks, you're having pains in your chest, you're shaking, you're depressed, you're like, you can't think, you're having chronic pain, muscle tension. Even some persons even will tell you that they feel like a lump in their throat or a lump in their chest or whatever, because of being anxious and staying in that state for so long.
Right.
And
that's just it. The body is incredible, but then at the same time, you have to understand that it takes a long time to recover from hyperstimulation. Your body, to a slight degree, gets too much, so you have to rest. You have to reduce the stress on the nervous system, because you have been constantly hit, and the body just will do what it needs to do to get by, but then you're not actually flourishing. You're kind of stuck in that kind of lull, that valley.
You know that OCD is actually on the list of anxiety disorders?
Really? Obsessive compulsive? Really?
Yes.
And I always thought, and this could be where we talk about personal. I always thought that, that was something
that people who want to be extra neat and proper.
Yes. I always, and so we use the term very loosely now.
Yes, we do.
And they have OCD. But the reality is, a person with real OCD is so meticulous,
but they're actually responding to some of the underlying thing,
And that when it's OCD, it's a problem in their life. It's not a person who, I'm extra, I'm just doing it. No, OCD is a problem that they cannot function normally
unless something is exactly this way.
Right.
So if you put it another way, it throws them off.
Right.
They can't.
They cannot function.
They're upset.
Right. The emotional response is anger. The emotional response is oh, I need to have it this way for me to do this. It's not like, oh, it's this way today and I'm going to fix it. No.
Yeah, they no longer have that up. They no longer seem to be able to adapt, so they become unadaptable.
Right.
But psychologists sometimes can actually use like different kinds of cognitive behavioral therapy to help persons deal with OCD as well.
Mm-hmm. So, well, once again, folks, if you're just tuning in, we're talking about anxiety and stress. I should say anxiety versus stress, because they are very different, even though they have some of the same underlying tones.
Yeah, and some similar, they have similar symptoms as well. And we kind of throw the words around loosely, don't we?
Yeah, and I think that's because we have become, a lot with Dr. Google and the web and all of these things. We become smarter, yes, but at the same time, we start using words interchangeably, and so it's a very fine line, but there is a line. So
You should always seek the advice of your physician or some other qualified healthcare provider, though. Not just, yes, it's nice to have you here listening with us, but it's important to know that we're not actual medical professionals. So we can't give you this like factual kind of, this is all stuff that we found, that we researched, and we just, it's a topic that needs to be discussed. It's a topic that needs to be out there.
Yeah.
But get help if you even think that you may just be borderline. It makes sense to actually get help before things snowball out of control.
Yeah, and the fact of the matter is, even I did some research looking at people living with anxiety disorders in the U.S. Only 36% of them seek treatment, and that means that you have that many people on the other side of the spectrum living with issues and living with this problem, but they haven't even recognized that it's a problem to help seek treatment for.
Yes, in the other lady case segment that she's gonna talk to us this morning, she's actually gonna tell us how to get help for clinical depression, which is actually probably like a spin-off from being under a lot of stress and having anxiety, which is the lingering effects of stress. So in the next lady case segment, we're going to actually listen to her tell us about how we're going to get through, or how you can get help to get through clinical depression. And it's also important to know that even though we don't like to talk about these things in the public realm, or we don't like too many people, like what Caribbeans say, in our business, there's ways to get confidential help here in the Cayman Islands. Even though we're a small community, there's quite a few companies. You only need to go on Facebook, or just, you can go to any of these other providers, and they actually offer mental health support. And talking about providers, BAF has actually added a new feature. They have an added convenience now for our members and providers. So now when it's non-office hours, you can actually still get your benefits by calling 916-6384. Or if there's no answer from that number, you can call 925-9198 or 916-3543. So another new added feature, a new added convenience for our members and providers for after hours for getting benefits during non-office hours. That would be anytime after 4:30 or on weekends and public holidays. There's a telephone and a WhatsApp number, 916-6384. And if there's no answer from that number, there's another two numbers, 925-9198 or 916-3543. In addition, there's an email address. It's under grouphealthcayman@mybafsolutions.com. So grouphealthcayman@mybafsolutions.com.
And that's a great way for you to reach out to BAF and get all the information that is required. We're going to take a quick break, listen to Lady K. And then when we come back, I'm going to talk to Mr. Mike from BAF, and he's going to tell you about some of the wonderful things that they have going on there. And also, we'll be back in just a few moments. Sounds good, Des?
Yep.
This is Your Health, Your Wealth with BAF on Bobo 89.1 FM.
Today on Be Well, Be Healthy for Life, Lady K, your wellness coach, talks about recognizing clinical depression.
I'm so depressed. I hear it often from people of all walks of life. But while it's normal to feel depressed from time to time, it is not the same as having depression. Feelings of sadness and wanting to wallow in a pity party comes and goes as we navigate the ups and downs of life. But when those feelings of sadness persist, when we feel totally hopeless, we begin to withdraw from family and friends and lose interest in the things that we usually enjoy, then it's time to seek help for possible depression. Depression is a serious disorder, and people with depression can't just simply snap out of it because you want them to or because they want to. Millions of people worldwide suffer from the mood disorder known as major depressive disorder or clinical depression. It affects the way you feel, think, and behave, and if left untreated, can often lead to much larger issues and, sadly, even suicide. The countless list of celebrities who choose the path of taking their own lives reminds us that even successful people who appear happy and seem to have everything to live for can suffer in silence. Signs that you or someone you know may be clinically depressed and should seek medical help include feelings of sadness, hopelessness, guilt, or worthlessness that persist. Getting angry or frustrated over simple matters. A loss of interest in things you normally enjoy. Inability to sleep or sleeping too much. Lack of energy and being tired to do even small everyday tasks. Trouble concentrating, making decisions, or remembering things. Frequently thinking about death or suicide. The signs of depression in teens may also include unexplained body aches and pains, eating or sleeping too much, harming themselves, using recreational drugs and alcohol, and avoiding social interaction. In younger children, depression may mask itself as a child being too clingy, not wanting to eat or go to school. Men and women can be affected differently by depression. Women tend to have the more common symptoms. Depression in men, however, is often masked by unhealthy coping mechanisms, such as controlling or violent behavior, inappropriate anger, risky behavior such as reckless driving, drug or alcohol abuse, and escapist tendencies such as spending too much time at work. Sadly, many of these behaviors are deemed as boys being boys, and so they're dismissed and overlooked as symptoms of a larger issue. And while I'm on the subject of depression, I'll touch briefly on depression brought on by grief. Although depression is a normal part of the grieving process, if it persists, then seek help. Grief counseling is a real thing, and for many people, it is a lifeline to living again after a devastating loss. Being depressed may come and go, but having depression, that persistent feeling of being depressed, requires attention. If you or someone you know has any of these symptoms on a regular basis, it's time to seek medical attention. Getting help for depression is nothing to be ashamed of. Most people recover or live well-adjusted lives with treatment that can include medications and therapy. But the help you need is now. With depression, sooner is always better than later.
Be Well, Be Healthy for Life is brought to you by BAF Global Group. Remember, always consult your doctor before starting any new health and wellness regimen. BAF Global Group offers life, health, and general insurance plus a full suite of financial solutions in the Bahamas, life insurance in the Turks and Caicos Islands, and affordable individual and group health insurance in the Cayman Islands. Visit us at mybafsolutions.com.
Your health, your wealth, your health, your wealth, your health for life. Your Health, Your Wealth is brought to you by BAF Insurance. Your health or priority.
This morning, we have a BAF staff member that's going to be in the hot seat. Mr. Mike Adam has been with BAF for quite some time, and he is a sales agent. And he's going to tell you all about how to get in touch with the agents over at BAF Insurance.
BAF Cayman is a proud member of the BAF Global Group, comprising insurance companies that have been serving the needs of our Caribbean generations since actually 1920. Our company has been active in the Cayman Islands since 2009, and our business continues to grow year over year, supported by our loyal and diverse client base that values market-leading rates, simple but extensive plan designs, and access to the best medical facilities when they need it most, whether at home or overseas.
Is BAF licensed and registered?
BAF is licensed by the Cayman Islands Monetary Authority as an A-class insurance company and specifically approved to provide health insurance by the Health Insurance Commission.
If you could choose one thing that makes BAF stand out from the other insurance companies, what would that one thing be?
Although BAF offers many advantages over other insurance companies, whether you are an individual member or a member of your company's health insurance group, choosing BAF means putting your confidence in BAF to provide the highest quality health insurance plans with the lightest impact on your pockets. And we offer member support services that meet and exceed all your requirements. Our member services provided by our local Cayman-based team are always accessible to support you, from submitting your applications or daily member claims to billing queries. You can always count on one of our team members to assist you.
In wrapping up, are your group plans only for companies? And how many people do I need to make a group?
BAF Insurance offers both individual and group plans. Our group plans require a minimum of 5 employees and base rates starting as low as 150 CI dollars. The additional plans that require 5 employees or more is what we refer to as the BAF MedSafe Cayman Health Plus and the BAF Value Plan Enhanced 250, and the BAF Prestige Plan, our most robust plan, requires a minimum of 10 employees to form a group.
How can I get in contact with the company?
Very easy. You can just contact our individual agents, and or 949-5089 is our main office line. BAF website is accessible at www.mybafsolutions.com.
Your health, your wealth, your health, your wealth, your health for life. Your Health, Your Wealth is brought to you by BAF Insurance. Your health or priority.
Hey, we're back. If you're just joining us, you're listening to Your Health, Your Wealth with Desiree and Chuck on Bobo Radio. We're here with you until 7:30 a.m. with a host of health tips and information. I hope you listened to Lady K and enjoyed that little segment talking about getting help for clinical depression. BAF actually is sponsoring a Dance for Diabetes on Saturday, November 11th. It's going to be at the public beach, at the 7 Mile Beach. It's a free family event, and it's going to be happening from 6:30 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. We need you to register. You're going to register at bafcayman.com. It's free, but we still ask that you register. The sponsors are Total Health, School of Fitness, FN Sports, and Essential Living, as well as BAF, of course. You're going to have warm-up with FN Sports. There's going to be Zumba with School of Fitness. There's going to be the health checks by Total Health Limited. There's going to be body scans available for a cost from Essential Living, and hopefully a lot more surprises. But as we go along, we'll try to we'll try to keep some of the surprises in the bag, of course, because that's what makes it very interesting. We don't want everyone to know about it, right?
Exactly. You got to come on out there. It's
Dance for Diabetes.
Going to be a
Saturday, November the 11th.
Fun time. Saturday and November 11th.
I think that's in the middle of the long weekend in November too, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah.
I think so.
It's going to be lots and lots of fun. Put in your calendar. Get set for it. Go ahead and register. We've been
talking among ourselves, and we've also played you some clips from Lady K.
Yeah.
Talking about stress and anxiety. And we're going to close off with a bit about grief. And we're going to just talk about sudden death versus anticipated death. There is an author, Therese Randon, and she provides us with an image that helps us to better understand the difference in coping with a sudden death versus anticipated death. Her book says, suppose you are standing on a street corner and you see someone approach you as if he were going to hit you. If you decide you can't run, the usual response is for you to ready yourself for the assault. You steel yourself against the oncoming blow. You assume a fighting stance. When your assailant knocks you down, you're ready for it. And despite the pain of the blow, you get up to defend yourself. This is like the situation of anticipated death. In sudden death, you are standing on the road. You're facing one way. And the person that is going to attack you, you don't see that person. Your blow comes from behind you. And you fall and you're on the ground. And before you can even figure out what has happened, you're trying to get up from the ground. You're trying to figure out what part of your body is hurt. What has happened? What am I doing on the ground? Where is this pain coming from? What do I have to do now? This is what happens in sudden death. So what she's actually saying is, in sudden death, the grief is not greater, but the ability to cope is reduced. So grief reactions include shock, disbelief, anger, guilt, despair. The world as you once knew it is shattered. The death does not make sense. Life seems unfair, and you had no time to prepare for the life-altering change. Those preparing for an anticipated death share similar feelings. However, they had the precious gift of time, being able to prepare. And though also deeply painful, the death was fairly predictable and made sense. In sudden death, the loss doesn't make sense. Traumatic events can be more difficult to recover from and are sometimes extended in duration as investigations occur and potential legal actions loom ahead. The search for meaning challenges our belief system and values. We may find ourselves looking backward, searching for anything that might help us to understand the death. And we seek an answer to the question, why? Acknowledging that sometimes there is no answer because of the nature of this type of loss. Grievers are in a greater risk in their grieving, yet they can resolve their grief, which will take longer and ask more from those who support them. Gentleness, patience, love, and speaking with a mental health professional can make a very significant difference. What you can do to cope? Consider sharing your thoughts and feelings with others who have experienced the same loss. Pay close attention to and get help for any changes in physical and emotional health as they may be related to the loss. Talk to a mental health professional, family and friends to help gain perspective about the death and decrease feelings of guilt. Become educated about the cause of death. Accept rather than deny your feelings, even unpleasant ones such as anger. Be active in making choices about engaging in activities and rituals. And for the supporters, offer specific help. That is, prepare meals, run errands, help with phone calls. Remember the family even more after a few months. Ask what they need. Listen. Allow the bereaved to talk about their loss, if they want to. Also, allow the person to grieve in their own way. And that also means allowing them to grieve for as long as it takes them to grieve. And you can always go and speak with a therapist or someone else who can actually help you work through those feelings as well. Keep that in mind.
Exactly. And I think really it's hard to add anything on to that. If you listen and you are walking through that unexpected,
These moments of grief,
unexpected, it's going to grieve, it's going to hurt, but
it's going to take time.
It will take time. And I know a lot of things have happened over the last couple of weeks and months with people, unexpectedly
that are close to us as well.
Yeah, unexpectedly losing family members and things of that nature.
Friends.
We are here with you. We understand, and we say the grieving process has started. Let it take its course. And with that being said,
well, it's down to the time now when we say goodbye. But don't forget to subscribe, like, and share with your friends. Our videos are life-saving. These health tips are brought to you free by BAF Insurance, and they can be found on the YouTube channel. The YouTube channel is Be Well, Be Healthy for Life, and you can also catch up on your health and your wealth shows on the same channel. And all the Lady K, for all the Lady K segments, you can find all of the episodes on Spotify, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Podcast Addict, or Podbean. Just look for the Be Well, Be Healthy for Life channel. Chuck, you going to wrap it up today?
Oh, yep. And don't forget, go ahead and subscribe, like, and subscribe. Tell a friend, and we will see you here next week, Wednesday, bright and early, kicking off at 6:30 a.m. for Your Health, Your Wealth, compliments of BAF Insurance. I'm Chuck Taylor.
And I'm Desiree.
We'll see you next week. Take care of each other and be good.